Ooh, weird. Hey guys. So Hollywood in general and like stories are great. I love them. But they're getting kind of tiring just because of the sameness. The thing I'm talking about is the multiverse. There is a multiverse seemingly in everything. And the thing that brings this to mind is the most recent season of Invincible. I'm finally catching up to it, and spoilers for those who don't know. But in this most recent season, it's revealed that there's actually a plethora of universes, like infinite universes. And one of the universes that's focused on is one where Mark is actually convinced by Omni-Man to take over planet Earth for the Vilgemite Empire. Personally, I do think it's cool to be able to explore those different aspects of the characters in different realities. I was one of those kids that would watch reruns of like my favorite cartoons and TV shows and then like pray that different outcomes would happen because I literally just didn't like what was being shown on screen. And of course, they would never happen, but I think there is that indulgent part in each of us that would like to see the branching effects of the kind of characters and events that they're in that we love and are interested in. And I think that's what the multiverse honestly is about for any type of fiction that it's involved with. It's this way of being able to almost make fan fiction that's canon. Like you can just take any part of any character and tweak a little bit of it, and then you get a completely different character or a completely different narrative. And I think for a lot of fictions, it works really well. I think Rick and Morty is a story that fundamentally is able to execute its multiverse setting to be really interesting and evocative and interrogate a lot of cool aspects about Rick and Morty and just the family at large as characters, the universe, or the singular universe that they occupy, and then the multiverse at large becomes a character itself. I think stuff like Everything Everywhere All at Once was very unique in its style. I think that movie is beautiful. I think the way they play with identity and purpose and yearning is really cool. And the multiversal setting really, I think, hits home with that. Even some things, for as trite and tropey as it is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, work really well with multiverse stuff, right? So one of my favorite Marvel fictions is WandaVision. Just because I think it's like a really cool exploration of Wanda's grief by her literally creating this like separate reality, and maybe not multidimensional, but like this reality for her that she can control that's different than the one that she knows. And all of those things, I think, use the multiverse setting for the conflict, for the narrative, for the fiction. And I know that every fiction attempts to do that, but there is just so much multiverse stuff that I'm kind of like getting sick of it. Just because I go to fiction, I go to movies, TV shows, video games, freaking plays, music, anything that you can interact with that's basically not real life, because I want to have a new experience. But there's only so many new experiences you can have with multiverses, even though, you know, theoretically it offers infinite new experiences. This time span honestly reminds me of like from 2008 to 2016, everything had to be like YA dystopia for like a few years, right? So there was like Maze Runner and Divergent, Hunger Games and like Harry Potter and stuff like that. Then everything had to be zombies. So, you know, like World War Z, The Last of Us, which is really good. I'm not crapping on The Last of Us, but like for a while, everything was zombies. You know, The Walking Dead. Then for a while, everything had to be vampires because of Twilight. Then everything had to be fantasy because of, you know, the Hobbit movies and Game of Thrones. And then everything, of course, now is like superheroes. And that's been going on for a long time. But I think we're all used to these phases of larger style genres that kind of interplay with what becomes popular, what becomes the brand for a certain era of fiction. I think the difference here is that multiverses have transcended genres. They are everywhere. Like literally everywhere. They're in cartoons. I'm pretty sure like either Finn and Jake or Fiona and Cake has like a multiverse. I think Star versus the Forces of Evil has a multiverse. I think like Family Guy has a multiverse. I mean, there's probably like a ton more. Obviously, Spider-Man, the Venom one, Eddie Brock gets sent into the new Marvel / Sony Spider-Man. I don't know which one it is. And then Miles Morales' story that brings in a multiverse. And this isn't me saying that multiverses can't work, but I'm wondering if you guys are feeling the same way I am, where it's just like, it's just so much. It's just so many different stories with multiverses. And I'm not blaming Invincible, even though that was the first one I brought up, because Invincible is not new. Like, this isn't like Invincible jumping on the bandwagon of multiverses, but it's something that made me think about how prevalent this type of fiction and this type of conflict is. And I am really hoping that it doesn't continue, at least in the same way that it's going now, because we're going to get to a point where nothing really matters for any of the fictions that we like, because it's just going to be one branch of an infinite tapestry of what a studio can pump out for money. Like, I know that seems very cynical, and that's not, I think, what's happening now. But just imagine a world where, like, these production studios can basically say, like, yeah, if you didn't like what we did here, well, this wasn't even, like, the reality of the story, because this actually was just one of an infinite amount of stories that we can give you to suit you for your best need. And that's, like, terrifying, because nothing matters at that point. Like, if we can just sit back and be told, oh yeah, none of the characters and none of the conflicts that they go through are actually consequential because there's another universe where they go differently, I think that's an interesting kind of dynamic on its own. But when that becomes how bigger studios or just like fiction creators use it to basically get a cop out of poor quality material, I think that's where things get a bit bad. And again, I'm not saying we're there, but my mind automatically goes to, again, as an editor, as a writer, as someone who's written many books, as someone who's fervently avoided multiverses in their own work, how the money-making system around fiction can turn something like multiverses into a thing that ultimately hurts us as consumers. And of course, the selfish part of me is just like, tell new stories. I just want new stories. So that's it. That's kind of like my ramble. What do you guys think? Because honestly, I think we are in a good spot right now. I think it's becoming stale, and I hope it doesn't move towards that actively harmful spot. So that's it for my ramble. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. As always, it was a pleasure, and I'll talk to you all again soon.